Adrian Hale, one of the youngest self-made millionaires in the city, stood frozen in the doorway of his mansion, his breath uneven, his tie loosened, his expensive shoes still wet from the rain outside. He had come home early after one of the worst days of his life, betrayal from business partners, a collapsing merger, and a silence in his heart that no amount of money had ever been able to fill. But nothing could have prepared him for what he saw next. In the middle of his living room stood Elena, one of his oldest household employees, clutching something tightly in her trembling hands. Her face was pale, her eyes filled with tears she had clearly been holding back for years. And when Adrian looked closer, his entire body went cold. She was holding an old photograph. A photograph of his mother. The same mother he had buried 25 years ago. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the hidden power of compassion, please take a moment to like this video, comment below, share this story with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more emotional stories like this to life. Rain hammered against the massive windows as silence swallowed the room. Adrian stared at the photo as if reality itself had broken. His mother's warm smile stared back at him from the faded picture, her arms wrapped around a baby. But the baby wasn't him. His chest tightened. He slowly lifted his eyes toward Elena. She had worked in his house for nearly 18 years. She cleaned, cooked occasionally, cared for the home, and never drew attention to herself. She was kind, quiet, dependable, the kind of person most wealthy people noticed only when something went wrong. Adrian had always respected her professionalism, but he never truly knew her. Until now. The storm outside seemed to disappear under the thunder in his own heartbeat. He took one slow step forward. Then another. His voice came out rough and almost unrecognizable. He asked the only question his mind could form. Who is that child? Elena broke. Years of restraint shattered in a single moment. Tears streamed down her face as she held the photograph against her chest like it carried the weight of an entire lifetime. For several seconds, she couldn't speak. When she finally did, her voice trembled with unbearable pain. The child was your brother. The world stopped. Adrian felt as though someone had punched through his chest. Brother? No. Impossible. His mother had never mentioned another child. His father never spoke of anything beyond business and legacy. After his mother's death, his father became colder, harder, more obsessed with power. Adrian had grown up in privilege, but emotionally starved. He learned early that success earned attention while vulnerability earned silence. He built an empire by age 35. Luxury cars. Private jets. Magazine covers. Millions in investments. But inside, there was always a hollow ache. The ache of never being loved the way he needed. And now, Elena had just shattered everything he believed about his past. He sank into a chair. His hands trembled. He wanted to reject it. Wanted to call it madness. But the photograph was real. His mother was real. And something in Elena's eyes told him she wasn't lying. She sat down slowly, as though preparing to open a wound that had never healed. 26 years ago, before Adrian's mother died, she gave birth to a second son. But the child was born with severe health complications. He needed expensive treatment, constant care, and surgeries that would stretch on for years. Adrian's father saw the child not as a son, but as weakness. As burden. As damage to the perfect family image he wanted to project. The decision he made was cruel beyond words. He ordered the baby to disappear. Officially, the child was declared dead. No funeral. No records. No mention. Erased. Adrian felt sick. His stomach twisted. He remembered his father's cold eyes. The man who taught him that emotions were liabilities. The man who once told him, only the strong deserve to survive. He had thought it was just harsh philosophy. Now he understood. It wasn't philosophy. It was confession. Elena continued through tears. Adrian's mother fought with everything she had. She begged. Screamed. Refused to give up her child. But she was already ill. Very ill. She knew she was dying. And with no power left, she did the only thing she could. She trusted someone. Elena. At that time, Elena was a young caretaker helping Adrian's mother during her illness. Before her final days, Adrian's mother secretly handed the baby to Elena. She begged her to save him. Protect him. Raise him. Tell Adrian the truth when the time was right. Adrian could barely breathe. Every memory of his mother flashed in fragments. Her soft hands. Her perfume. Her lullabies. The warmth he lost too young. And hidden beneath all those memories had been a secret. A secret so enormous it could split his life in half. Elena wiped her tears. She had raised the child as her own. His name was Daniel. He survived. Against every expectation, he survived. But life was not easy. Elena worked multiple jobs. She cleaned houses by day. Sewed clothes by night. Skipped meals so Daniel could eat. Sold jewelry to pay medical bills. Borrowed money. Endured humiliation. But she never gave up. Because of one promise. A promise to a dying mother. Adrian felt shame burn through him. For 18 years, Elena had worked inside his mansion. Cleaning floors. Washing dishes. Dusting furniture worth more than most homes. All while carrying a truth that belonged to him. A truth she had protected alone. He whispered the question that terrified him most. Where is he? Elena's face collapsed. Hospital. Adrian's blood ran cold. Daniel was critically ill. A rare heart condition had worsened. Emergency surgery was needed immediately. The cost was impossible. Elena had exhausted every option. Loans. Savings. Begging. Nothing worked. That morning, the hospital gave her a deadline. Without payment, Daniel would die. She had spent years refusing to tell Adrian. She didn't want money. She didn't want reward. She wanted to honor his mother's wishes. But today, she had no choice. Adrian's vision blurred. Something deep inside him cracked. All these years he believed he had built everything alone. Yet the one thing that truly mattered, family, had been hidden in plain sight. And while he chased wealth, his own brother was dying. He stood up so fast the chair crashed behind him. Within minutes, the mansion became chaos. Phones. Calls. Drivers. Doctors. Lawyers. His private medical team was activated. His helicopter prepared. The millionaire who commanded boardrooms with cold precision moved with something entirely different now. Desperation. Fear. Hope. For the first time in years, money felt meaningful. Not as status. Not as power. As salvation. At the hospital, Adrian saw him. Daniel. Thin. Pale. Connected to machines. His breathing shallow. He looked familiar. Not because Adrian knew him. Because he saw their mother. In Daniel's eyes. In his face. In the softness of features their father never had. Adrian stood at the bedside and broke down. Years of suppressed emotion exploded. He cried like the little boy who lost his mother. He cried for the brother he never knew. He cried for Elena. He cried for the life stolen from them. The surgery began. Hours passed like centuries. Adrian sat beside Elena in silence. No business calls. No emails. No deals. Just waiting. For once, he wasn't a millionaire. He was simply a brother. Elena quietly admitted something else. She had almost quit many times. Working in Adrian's house while carrying the truth was painful. Every birthday celebration. Every luxury party. Every expensive purchase. She thought of Daniel's hospital bills. But she never hated Adrian. Because she saw something no one else noticed. Loneliness. Even surrounded by wealth, Adrian was alone. She saw him eat dinner in silence. Celebrate victories without joy. Return home exhausted and empty. She knew he was suffering too. Just differently. Her words pierced him. He had spent decades building a kingdom. But no home. No love. No family. Hours later, the surgeon emerged. Those few seconds felt eternal. Then came the words that changed everything. The surgery was successful. Elena collapsed in tears. Adrian held her as both sobbed uncontrollably. Not from pain. From relief. From miracle. Weeks passed. Daniel recovered slowly. When he woke fully and learned the truth, emotions overwhelmed everyone. He didn't resent Adrian. He didn't blame him. He simply cried. Because after a lifetime of wondering where he belonged, he finally had an answer. A brother. Family. Home. Adrian transformed. Completely. The ruthless businessman began disappearing. In his place emerged someone human. Someone awake. He reduced work hours. Sold assets he no longer cared about. Created a foundation for children with critical illnesses. Thousands of families who once felt hopeless received treatment support. Every donation carried his mother's name. Hail!